right. Welcome back, and welcome to those of you who are just joining us for the first time. I really want to thank you guys for all the questions and comments that we've gotten from our previous two videos. If you didn't have a chance to see them, they're still available. They're only going to be available for a very short time. This isn't meant to sort of sit on the site indefinitely, but you'll have a chance. So we'll add today's as well. And then you can go and check them out, at least for the next couple of days. But I've really been excited by the feedback and the engagement from everybody so far. I really can't wait to dive into this session with you. Hopefully it can be equally as supportive and helpful. And with that, let's just get going. So some of you may know who I am, but again, I'm Jeff Hittner. I'm the co-founder of Project X. Building this type of video series and these types of programs is truly my purpose, and we'll talk about that a little bit. I wrote the curriculum for the Bard MBA in sustainability, where I was the leadership professor. So from that perspective, building these sorts of programs has really been in my blood for a long time. I'm also the executive coach to CEOs on 3 separate continents. Which makes for a lot of fun early morning and late night Skype calls. And I'm the founder, or former founder, since it's long removed, but I was the founder and leader of IBM's corporate social responsibility consulting practice globally, where I ran that practice at IBM for many years, up until 2010. Overall, I have been everything. I have been a teacher, a strategy consultant, an entrepreneur, and most importantly, a husband and a dad. But I have changed careers 6 times. And I, as a result, really know not just what the experience is like of changing careers, but what the mindset shift is like, what the challenges are like, and in particular, what we're going to talk about today, what transition is like. Transitioning from one career to a next is a period of time that not everyone likes to talk about. And that's why I really think it's important to focus on, because I think it can make all the difference. But before I do that, I want to kind of talk about a couple other things. First and foremost, why I built this course, and not just this 3 video series, but what this is leading to, which is our online self-paced career change program, what we call our 8 steps to career liberation. We really built this because we wanted to shake everyone from these myths around career change, that it's an all or nothing leap, that you find a job just by looking for it, which I honestly never have. And God bless you if you have, but that is not the way in this volatile, unpredictable, complex, and ambiguous world that we live in. We call it VUCA. We talked a little bit about that before, but what that means is things are changing so fast that we can't count on this sort of put our resume into the anonymous black hole that is the online application process and expect great results. So we built this to sort of shake our heads, shake us of these myths around career change. But more importantly, we built this to make you aware that there is a process and it works. And we call this process the 8 fundamental steps to career liberation. We've shared parts of it in the last 2 videos. Some of these steps have been around discovering your purpose and how to identify your transferable skills so you can prove to employers that you have what it takes to enter a career field. And we're going to share some more of the sort of the core content of this program today. But I just really want you to know all the reasons behind why we build that are so more than just a few people can understand that there's a process out there. And in addition, that it's something I wholeheartedly have lived through multiple times and believe it's time that we really share this with everybody. So what we're going to cover today, let's talk about that for a little bit. So today is all about thriving in transition. I love this topic for a number of reasons. One, because so many of these sort of would-be mentors and career coaches out there don't really like to talk about the transition because it's so scary, it's so uncertain, it's such a journey. They really want to just focus on the goal line, right? The end goal, which is this new career stage. And the problem with that is we're not going to get to that end goal, to that goal line, unless we spend some time understanding what this moment of transition is like. And I don't really think there's too many people out there talking about strategies for thriving in this in-between stage where we feel uncertain, where we feel impatient, where we feel frustrated. And those are just three of the feelings you might have over the course of 3 or 4 minutes, much less the course of a 24-hour day or a 7-day week, right? So part of this transition and talking about it is also about touching on the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And to me, at least, that is money. So we're going to begin to consider the perspectives around money that we hold so dear, because we can't really talk about transition without diving into that topic as well. So those are sort of the three kind of core new learnings we're going to spend today on. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time, again, talking about the online self-paced career change program, which is going to open up today exclusively for you all that are actually logged into the webinar, right? I'm going to give you a very special offer for the program at the end of this session that's only going to be available to you because you guys have made the commitment and are going through these videos. So stay tuned for that, and we'll talk about that at the end of our talk today. But before we dive into sort of this core topic of transitions, I actually want to address some of the biggest questions that we've been getting so far from the people that have been watching our videos and sort of emailing or giving us feedback through other means. So first and foremost, the biggest question everyone keeps asking, if I take this online course, am I going to get my dream job? Absolutely not. Okay, so I want to make that very clear. You are not going to find your dream job by completing our program, but what you are going to do is put yourself on the journey to that possibility. I can't promise this end line goal, and I don't know anyone who can, but I can promise you that these 8 fundamental steps that are in the online program, several of the steps that we've been talking about over the last couple of videos and this one, these are all critical to your transformation and the journey to finding your career job. But there's a lot more that's up to you, okay? So that's the first one that I want to get out of the way. And then another one that I have consistently been getting from folks is this question of how do I find the job of my dreams and make a ton of money doing it? Wow, really easy question, right? The short answer to that is not all dream jobs are going to equal riches. Right? But if you're doing what you love from 9 to 5, your expectations are going to start to change. And we're going to talk about this a lot more when we talk about money later on in our session today, because it's all about our mindset when it comes to career and income. Really important topic, really important question, and we'll talk about it more as we go through. So with that, I really want to dive into today. Again, we're going to talk about thriving in transition. We're going to touch on money and its relation to that. Then we're going to dive deeper into some of the content and what to expect for our online course. And of course, you're going to get this really special offer about, for those of you that are ready to sign up for the course at the end, that only you will get because you've been committed in going through these videos with us. All right. So our lesson for today, where I want to begin. So I've already mentioned how a few pieces, very few pieces have been written about this ever messy transition between the old career or the career you want to sort of move on from and the new one. And that's precisely because the chasm between a career on our own terms and the status quo can be so large, it can be so dark, and it can be so scary for anyone, even those of us with the courage to take the journey. So fumbling along the way is really a natural part of the process. And this is important though, because there are so many ways, big and small, that we can, even while we're fumbling along this process, begin to get a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confidence during this transition. And I'm going to explore 5 key ways for us to do that. So first, let me just sort of list out what these 5 key ways are, and then we'll dive into each of them. All right. So these are the 5 key ways that I think are going to really help you thrive in transition. The first one is learning how to keep your ego in check, because it's a lot bigger than you think, and it's going to be a lot more affected by the people around you than you recognize. Second, it's all about building a community of like-minded, kind of say no to the status quo career builders, and making sure that they have your back and you have their back. Third, we don't want to measure our daily self-worth by kind of completing our checklist of things to do each day. And this is a really important one. We'll dive into that. Fourth, if there's something you hate about yourself, it's going to feel magnified during the transition process. And so you need a strategy to manage that. And I say that with, all authenticity about the things that I don't feel great about myself for, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But it's something you need to be aware of, because again, it's going to be one of those pitfalls that's going to be kind of sucking you back into this idea of, maybe I shouldn't go after this new career dream after all, but you should, right? Fifth, we're going to commit to a morning routine or some sort of routine in your day. That's going to be the next, or the last most critical piece of thriving in transition. So we're going to talk about these 5 areas right now. So first, how to keep your ego in check, right? And I say that with a little bit of sort of, smirk, because I mean, I'm the first one to admit I have ego as big as anyone. And even when I fail, and I fail very big, I've started businesses that have gone completely under. I still know that my ego needs to be checked when I'm doing something new and adventurous. So yes, you want to create a career on your own terms, but there are so many folks around us that are drinking the Kool-Aid still, right? These are folks that are, very simply still working in a corporate setting, or still working in an environment that you want to escape. And in so many ways, you want to leave that, but in other ways, you will start to look at the certainty and simplicity that they have that you no longer have, especially if we're talking about this point when you're in transition. And it's going to start to pull you back towards, all right, maybe this transition, maybe this isn't worth it, right? What I'm talking about in all these things for thriving in transition is, that period of time where you're between those 2 opportunities, and what you really need to focus on is moving forward through the uncertainty, right? So yes, you want to avoid these certain conversations with people that are still drinking the Kool-Aid and working at these organizations. But there's a lot more you can do, right? So for instance, for me, what I do to keep my ego in check is I write a lot. I write about what's important to me. I write about what brings me gratitude, about my vision for myself and for my family. I actually do this in 30-day increments, 90-day increments, and 3-year increments. And what I mean by that is, I kind of either write specific visions for myself and my family, and obviously my career dreams, for what I want to accomplish in 30 days, in 90 days, and 3 years. And so that kind of holds me stable when I'm getting seduced by a conversation with a friend of mine who still has a corporate legal job, or a banking job, or a consulting job, and talks about all the trips they're going to take with all their money and that sort of thing, right? So to stay the course, these sort of opportunities to not just write down the vision that you have for your future self, but to actually reread it, that's going to be helpful. So that's the first thing. The second thing, building a community of like-minded status quo busters early in your transition. So just as I said, your ego is going to be challenged when you have people around you that are still in the settings that you're trying to move away from. You also want not just to avoid those, but you want to build relationships with people around you that are also going after some of those same things. And believe it or not, you're not as isolated as you think. First and foremost, you're here on this webinar with me. And so you know that myself and everyone else on this webinar and all the other people that will be taking this program are feeling the same things that you're feeling. So obviously, this is a community that you can connect to. And if I didn't mention already, By the way, when you do our program, we have a dedicated Slack channel for career changers. So right away, you can connect with other people, but you can always connect with me if you cannot find other people in your sort of immediate proximity that are going through some of these challenges, because having the support and accountability of people going through something similar is just so valuable, especially when we talk about this moment of transition, right? So third, don't measure your daily self-worth by the completion of your checklist. This is a really important one. All of us, right? We get into this groove at work, we get into this groove in our life where we have things we want to accomplish every day. And then when we're in transition, all of a sudden that same sense of accomplishment is sort of out there, and it's looking for a checklist, and it's looking to feel every day that we accomplished all these things. But the problem is we tend to think in that same sort of antiquated checklist that we did when we had a different job. And so what I mean by that is I need you to find other measures to define a successful day other than this checklist. And I'll give you a couple of examples. One could be having a goal of every day having a meaningful conversation with someone in your life, right? Because meaningful conversations, by the way, and connection, that's like the apex of purpose, right? We find purpose when we connect with others. So if you have one meaningful conversation every day, that is more powerful, and that should move you in a direction of feeling more accomplishment than any checklist of 20 bills you need to look at, 10 emails you need to write, and the list goes on, right? The second thing is what we talked about actually in the very first video, which is sort of committing to this grow and give. So if having a meaningful conversation can actually be a part of that. But again, if we wake up every morning and we put that little sticky note in our bathroom on the mirror, and we see it in the morning, and it says on it, grow and give. And in the morning, you ask yourself, how am I going to grow today? And who am I going to give back to? And when you come back at the end of the day, and you're brushing your teeth again, and you reflect on that, how did I grow today? Who did I give back to? Well, guess what? There are no checklists in that sort of two sets of goals for a successful and fulfilling day, right? It's all focused on connection and obviously reaching out and having an impact on others' lives. And I promise you, if you focus on those things, if you focus on having meaningful conversations, that need for a checklist to feel not just satisfied, but to feel like your day was worthwhile is going to slowly move to the back of your head. And it's a really important piece of thriving in transition. The fourth one is if there's something you hate about yourself, it's going to feel magnified during your transition. For me, I have lots of them. And to be honest, I've been reading Brené Brown, one of her most recent books. Actually, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's all about self-compassion. And this is where self-compassion comes into play, right? It's whether or not, you've worked tirelessly for the day and you want to spend 45 minutes scrolling through Facebook on your phone, or what I do is I watch an episode of The West Wing because I don't know, that's just what I love. And when I'm done with it, I feel like I wasted those 45 minutes. I could have been so much more productive doing something else. Like, why did I do that? Or why don't I just put my phone in another room? And it's stopping and telling yourself, one, that's actually what you needed, right? If that's what you needed in that moment, great. If it's not what you needed in that moment, then you need to have a quick conversation with yourself and figure out how to kind of move out of that sort of consistent pattern. But often it is what we need, right? Like, I'm going to finish this webinar and I'm going to be tired, and it's the middle of the workday, but you know what? I'm going to go and I might surf Facebook for 20 minutes, and that's okay. Yes, it's a waste of time, but it's also, it's what my mind and body need in that moment. I hope that makes sense, right? So be self-compassionate, and understand that the things you're going to hate, that you hate about yourself, you're only going to feel it more and more during this period of time. So figure out what are the ways for you to either get support in those moments or to be more compassionate with yourself, right? The fifth way, this is my favorite, is committing to a morning or evening routine. So whether you admit it or not, when you're out of your 9 to 5 structure, it can be kind of disorienting. And even if you don't like structure, a specific routine is pretty valuable because it keeps you moving forward in your transition, right? So I actually have a morning routine. I get up, so I have a 2-year-old. So obviously he gets up earlier, so I need to get up even earlier than him. So I get up at 5:30 every morning, except on the weekends. But in the weekends, I actually still do this morning routine, just not at 5:30, but I get up 5:30 every morning. And this is my morning routine. I drink a huge glass of water because I've read that that's kind of what your brain craves first and needs most in order to really get going. I believe it or not, I take a cold shower very quickly, but like 30 seconds. And then after that, I sit down and I do a whole host of things. But first and foremost, let me just say that those things focus on these 4 areas for me. They focus on family, they focus on faith, they focus on inspiration, and they focus on action, right? So when I start, I begin my morning with a little bit of meditation and a quick prayer. And then I write down my 5 gratitudes. So I try to consistently write down every morning 5 things I'm grateful for. And then I write down 3 actionable goals that I have for the day. And at least one of them can't have anything to do with work or career. And then I love to watch, sometimes read, but usually watch some sort of really quick 3, 4, 5-minute inspirational video. That just really gets my juices flowing so I can feel ready to attack the day. And then finally, the last thing is I actually go to work on the thing that's most important, not most urgent, most important, and most difficult. And that usually involves some form of writing for me. And that's how I start my mornings. And what I have noticed over the course of many months is that it really, really shifts your brain. I mean, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this idea of how gratitude shift our mindset, because gratitudes, for instance, get our minds looking for all the positive things that have happened in your day. You start to actively seek them out in your head because that's part of the process of thinking about what you're grateful for, right? Meditating or praying, just focusing on your breath and breathing for even just 2 minutes a day. There are tons of scientific research out there that talks about how that calms us down, lowers our blood pressure, gets us ready and to be in a peak state and to do the work that we want to do. So there's lots of benefits to it. Now, I am a morning person to begin with, so that's easy enough to understand why 5:30 in the morning is not such a big deal for me, and also because I have a child. Others, especially if you're in the point of transition and you don't have a family to attend to, you can pick it as another point in your day, but be extremely consistent about it. So maybe it's right after lunch, or maybe you're a nighttime person and it's always at night, right? But you have to be consistent with it. And for me, I found consistency happens when I do it first thing as opposed to the end of the day. So those are the 5. And by the way, I have at least another half dozen more in our online career change program. But those are the 5 that I think are really, really critical to thriving in transition. And then the last piece that I want to talk about in terms of thriving in transition is obviously this concept around money, right? The 800-pound gorilla in the room. It can rear its, I like to call it its hairy gorilla head in so many different ways during your transition. It's important to challenge a few of its misconceptions ahead of time, right? So the first misconception, I think, is this idea that, like, if you think about it, who actually told us that we should always make more money with each job that we get into? There's, it's just this assumption that every time we change jobs or every time we have a new role, we should be making more money. And I throw this out here just for you to recognize that that's an assumption that may or may not have any basis in reality for you and what you want to be, or sorry, who you want to be in the world, right? And part of that is, for the second reason I want to focus on this today, is that your relationship with money will never ever remain constant, right? When you're doing what you love, your relationship to money changes drastically. It's no longer so directly linked to your happiness. If you're happy from 9 to 5, you don't need the retail therapy that's gonna keep you afloat, right? So, it's really funny too, because as I've been building my business, I can't think of the last time that I've gone out and had retail therapy. And yes, I miss it from time to time, but and not at all with the expectation that I would have had, um, you know, 2 or 3 careers ago, when I was very unhappy in the role that I was in. Because with purposeful work comes this awareness and desire to reevaluate, not only how you spend money, but how you spend your time, and what your intentions are, and ultimately, like, what you want to do over the course of your entire life. So, you don't have to believe me on this either. There is so many studies out there that talk about how, that talk about, like, the increase in salary and its relationship to your happiness only increases up to a point. So 2 big studies. One found that number only, so the increase in happiness in relationship to money only was true up to $105,000 a year. And another study, which I found a little bit more reasonable, said that number was $75,000 a year. So in other words, what they're saying is, after that number, after 75,000 or after 105,000, making more money is literally not going to make you happier than the person next to you, right? That's an important thing to keep in your head. And then the third piece, just to kind of throw out these 3 broad concepts around how we may be misconceptualizing money, especially as we think about our transition, is this narrative that you always need to be earning money. I love to use this example. So I've got a friend, Paul, right? He took 27 months off, right? After 3 full years of employment, he took 27 months off. He actually spent around $100,000 during this time. He read a ton of books, he made a ton of new friends, and he learned a ton of different disciplines, right? And he didn't have anyone criticize him for it. And you know why? Because he was in graduate school, right? So this is an acceptable narrative of when we can, change our income stream, and live our life differently. But if we say we're going to take a life sabbatical for a year, or if we say we're going to go after the career or job that we want, or someone else makes that decision for us, but it puts us in a place where it's our turn now to go after that new direction. Like, if we do it, then it's considered crazy. But if we say we're taking 3 years off to get a degree, that's considered normal. I don't see why that's anything other than a societal narrative. If you're going after something and you are learning and growing a ton on the way, it is as powerful a narrative as any graduate degree. And trust me, we have actually a great article that we wrote maybe a year or 2 ago, about what you would do with that same amount of money that you could spend on graduate school, in terms of how you would grow and learn over the same course of 1 or 2 years, and how many more different things you could actually explore. So it's all possible. And my point here is that our mindset is what often holds us back on money. But of course, yes, there's a legitimate, there are legitimate challenges that we're going to need to address when it comes to money, and some of them are trade-offs, right? Some of them are a relationship between time and money, or a relationship between purpose and money, and a relationship between impact and money. And we're going to dive into all of these in a lot more detail in our online career change program, including strategies for what we call your transition nest egg. So there really are people have written a lot about this, lots of strategies around how to sort of develop the nest egg that you want and need to feel comfortable enough. Again, we're going back to thriving in transition, right? Making sure we have the confidence to grow, to feel comfortable enough that you can make it through this journey, ultimately to the career that you want. And so we'll dive into that in a lot more detail in the program. But I really wanted you guys to see that some of these concepts that we put around money are concepts that other people have put out there for us, and they may or may not be so true. So, all right, what do I want to do now? Well, let's talk a little bit about, well, you know what? Let me pause here for a moment, actually. Does anyone have any questions right now about anything we've talked about in terms of thriving in transition? If you have any questions, feel free to put it into the Q&A. And I'll wait for a moment if you do. You can even get a sip of water. All right, well, I'll give you another moment, but if there are no questions now, you can feel free to throw a question into the Q&A and I'll answer it before the end of our session today, so no worries there. But what I want to do now is spend a few minutes talking about the details of the course. Oh, wait, we do have a question, sorry. It says, how do you suggest we approach money if we are in this transition due to a layoff? Oh, a great challenge, right? Well, there's not a quick answer to that, right? There's a whole process to kind of look at our financials and evaluate it from the standpoint of being laid off. But let me give a couple of very simple examples. And again, the best I can do is also point you to some other articles that have been written and the content that's in our program. But one example is to quickly identify where it is you can obviously make some big savings. But I like to, usually when we get laid off, right, we're going to get a little bit of a severance. What I like to do is I like to open a new bank account right away, calling it my transition bank account. Okay, so this is going to be the account that I actually put money into and occasionally take money out of when I'm in that period of transition. The first and best benefit of having a specific account for this is when you open a new account, you can actually get usually an incentive. If you do some Googling around, several accounts will give you $100 or $200 if you open a bank account, right? Then you're going to put some of that severance in there, and then you're going to look at any number of different ways you can sort of grow that income over the course of the next 3, 4, 6 months. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can think about doing it, right? One way you could do that is by going into the back of your closet and selling all those things on eBay that you really don't think you're going to need for a while or need anymore. The other is looking at what subscriptions you have and the ones that you really need and the ones that you can let go of. And the ones that you can let go of, maybe you put that money again into that specific new bank account. Another thing you can do is look at some of the bigger ticket items, right? Can you save on rent? How can you manage that? I have a friend that after she lost her job, she actually immediately moved in with her family and immediately cut her costs significantly for a short period of time. It really depends on your specific situation when we talk about the details. But first and foremost, what I suggest is you can't cut everything from your budget when you get laid off, because part of thriving in transition is about staying healthy and confident moving forward, right? And there's already sort of this discomfort and especially if we're laid off, this feeling of insecurity because, hey, we got laid off for whatever reason. We need to keep certain things in our lives in order to stay happy and and thriving, right? So for instance, if going to the gym every single day of the week for you is something that literally gives you pleasure and keeps you moving forward, that is not something you want to cut from your budget just because you got laid off. So you really have to think about things from sort of two mindsets. One, truly the financial mindset, but the other is sort of the mental mindset. And again, the process for this is very specific and can be very personal. So hopefully that's helpful enough. But there's a lot more detail to be found online through us and through others who have written about it. Thanks for the question. All right. Now let's dive into a little bit. Oh, you're welcome. Sorry. Oh yeah, and one of the other folks said check unemployment benefits. That's another great point. And you can take those unemployment benefits and you can funnel them into your transition account, right? The new bank account that you create. Thank you, everybody. This is really helpful to add ideas. Please feel free to add more, and I'll share them with the whole group if you don't all see them. All right, so let me talk about the details about our upcoming course, because I want to spend a few minutes on that. So, you know, as I've told you a few times, when you sign up for our self-paced online career change course, or what we like to call our career liberation program, you're going to get exclusive access to our 8 fundamental steps to moving forward with clarity, with purpose, and with support. So you're going to get a way out first and foremost. You're going to get the clarity and the tangible path forward that you need to move in the direction that you want. Right? You're going to develop certainty as well. You're going to develop certainty for how to derive value in your day. And we kind of touched on that today. Actually, we more than touched on it today, right? It's this idea of having a different set of goals other than a checklist, right? And having a morning routine and having all these things. This is how you're going to create power and certainty and confidence for yourself every single day. And all of those are key components of this program. We're also going to focus on the financial peace of mind that you're going to need to go after the opportunities you want. We, again, have talked a little bit about that today, but the process for it is very explicit and very specific in the program. And of course, you're going to get the momentum from executing small goals every step along the way. There are actually 23 different activities that you will complete in the course of the program, and each of these is going to create momentum for you to keep moving forward. One of my favorite sort of big benefits from taking our program is you're going to have this list of unexpected new career path possibilities. You're going to generate these from a unique brainstorming technique that we have created, and it's going to help you really amplify or expand the different ideas of career directions that you want to go if that's relevant for you. And then finally, you're going to get coaching from me. In all of our programs, including this online self-paced career change program, we're going to engage directly with one another. So for the online career change program, there are 3 ways you'll engage directly with me. First, I'm going to kick off the program on November 4th with a live video session. And that's going to be all about making sure that you all have adequately set sort of or prepared yourself to go through this course so that you can maximize the benefits of it. So we're going to talk about specific techniques and setting up time to focus on it, find ways to get support from one another, that sort of thing. So that's going to be the first way you're going to engage directly with me. The second and third way is we're going to do 2 live Q&A sessions, so sort of a group coaching session with everyone that's in the program, 1 week and 2 weeks into the coursework. And again, the reason I want to smush it up to the front, even though you could spend months going through the course, we have found that people are most successful when they continue to take steps each and every day. And then the third way is going to be on our career change, what we call our career changer Slack channel. So that's going to be another way you can engage with me directly as well as the other people that are in the program. And I also now want to dive into what I mentioned last time, which are these 8 fundamental steps, right? And what we call like our 8 Ps, which are the core components of our program. Let me share my screen real quick. Let's see if I can do this successfully. Oh, where did it go? Well, it doesn't seem to be coming up on my screen, which is all right. We don't have to share it. So instead, I'll just walk you through it though. So, that's okay. Okay, so instead, let me just walk you through the 8 Ps, and so you guys can again remember sort of how comprehensive this program is, right? So the P's are your past, your purpose, your price, your perseverance, your pitch, your possibilities, your prototypes, and your path. So what is all that? So the first part of the program is all focused on your past, right? So these are like your psychological career ghosts, what's holding you back, right? We're going to talk about these should be selves that we feel like there's these expectations that we and others put on ourselves that may or may not be fair expectations. So we're going to unpack a lot of our past. That's the first step, right? Just like any good novel or any good self-help, like we need to understand where we're coming from in order to figure out what we're going to transition into, right? Second area of focus. So the first is past, the second is purpose. So that's it's actually quite a number of activities to focus us on all the things that we really love to do and that are purposeful. We talked about several of them the first day when in the first video, if you were with us, we got to our values, right? We identified our values. We did a draft purpose. There's several more things. We're going to identify our joys and our gifts, when we're in flow, that sort of thing. So that's the second part. The third part is called your price, and that's all about money and how to prepare for that transition with some sort of transitional nest egg, right? And that's a really comprehensive part of the program. And the fourth is all about what we're focused on today, your perseverance. So that's all about how you're going to thrive in transition. And we got several activities, not just listening to me, that are going to help you really figure out the best ways for you to thrive in transition. The fourth area, or is it the fifth maybe? I think the fourth area is your pitch. And this is actually all about what we did in the last session. This is all about understanding how we take our diverse and eclectic, or even our narrow set of career experiences and convert it into a story that can really sound powerful for sort of, the new company or organization we want to pitch ourselves into and get a job there, right? So it's how we convert our story, which might be in a completely different industry, and turn it into something that's going to be one key message, one powerful message for a new career direction. The next is all about your possibilities. And so this is about brainstorming all the different career directions that we could possibly go in. And the truth is, this is a lot harder than people think it is, because doing this activity on our own, we tend to approach it from the same narrow mindset that got us kind of stuck in the position of wanting to change careers in the first place. And so we've got a number of really fun and different brainstorming activities that are really going to widen the aperture for how you think about this. The next step is all about your prototypes. This is micro experimenting. So this is all about taking a bunch of these ideas and figuring out how to move forward with them, but in really small, really fast increments, so that we can test them. We can either fail with them, or we can find success with them and move forward with another small step. And that's micro experiments are a huge part of the work we do at Project X. And then finally, your path forward. This is all about creating a 3-month plan. It's all about being pragmatic. And when I say being pragmatic, this is the part where we talk about different ways to tap into your network. This is where we talk about what are our top 10 job criteria, making sure our resume is in good shape, all the good sort of core foundational stuff. So those are the 8 parts to our career transition or career change program. And now what I want to do is mention to you guys, as I've mentioned you guys in numerous emails leading up to this, is that on our webinar today, our online career change program, which by the way we call our Say No to the Status Quo, Build a Career You Love program, is going to open up for sales explicitly just for you all that are on the webinar a day before we open it up to everybody else. And we're going to open it up early for you today because of the commitment you guys have been making to, this is obviously critical to you. You've attended some of these webinars, you're here today. So we're going to make sure that it opens up early for you today. And part of that, we have a very special offer. So what I want to do is for all of you, if you sign up today, you'll get a 30-minute, I mean, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes, it can honestly be longer, but like a coaching session with me that will just be part of the program just for you all. So, and that all will come through when you follow the link that I'm going to share with you. And sign up, but just know that. So as I said, I'm here on this journey with you guys. This is my purpose, like helping you unleash your unique potential in the world makes me feel so good about the work that I do. So as I said, if you decide the program is something that you need and you want to join the program, you'll also get a one-on-one coaching session with me, which honestly, when I do specific career coaching, it's usually about $400 an hour. When I do executive coaching, you don't even want to know how much more it is. But the point is, that's not going to be the case for you guys because I'm really excited to do this work together with you. So that's all. So I'm gonna, in a moment, put on the screen the link that you can go to, but we'll also follow up with an email like right after the session, so you can just follow it from there. And if you guys have any questions at all, you have my email address. Don't hesitate to email me. I'd be very happy to answer. But I really want to thank you for having a chance to engage, or maybe we didn't engage so much as both of us talking back and forth, but I really enjoyed having a chance to teach with you, to teach this stuff to you today. I would really love to hear from you. I really want to know if you thought this or any of the videos were helpful. That would be great feedback for me. And I really hope that this career change like course has been valuable. And if you've come this far, I really encourage you to sign up for the program. I think it's going to be worth it. And I'm looking forward to getting to know several of you, if not most of you, over the course of the next several weeks. So with that, thanks again. And the problem was I was having trouble sharing my screen, but let me see if I can do it. There it is. Okay. So now I will share the link right here. That is the link. So go to that page and you can sign up for the program. And like I said, it's today only, and you can sign up for it today and get the free coaching with me, as well as all the other things that come with the program. So I'll leave this up for a moment. And again, I'll also send you guys an email. But I encourage you to do it because this part will expire today. And then overall, the price is going to go up on Wednesday too. So really behooves you to dive into it right away and make the commitment. Again, the course itself, so we're going to kick off on November 4th with the live video series. Then you're going to have access to the curriculum, to our 8 fundamental steps and all that beginning on November 11th. All right, so I think that was probably enough time. All right. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.